Dark Angels aficionados, once again, it is your time to shine, as we are going to be delving in the deep recesses of the rock as well as Caliban. So in this particular review video, we will be taking a very close look at the recently released Deathwing Ancient as well as the Deathwing Company Champion. And we have just finished the review of the Deathwing Knights, so let's just hope JoyToy can keep up with the high quality of product by taking a very close look at these Terminators.
What's up with this Deathwing Champion? Now this, members of the chapter, is a weapon. Let's start off this review with the Deathwing Champion and see what JoyToy has prepared for us today. So up top, you have the same Terminator lens array, except that this one has spikes around it. And if you look at the Terminator's forehead, he clearly has the Dark Angel symbol. And as we look at the lenses, it is nice glowing metallic red. And as you can see here, there is fairly light shading that's happening within the recesses here of the Terminator, although I would have liked to have seen darker shading. As we flip around to the other side, we clearly get to see a red Dark Angel symbol with wings and the characteristic broken sword. Right here we have a placard that says Angel on it, and the angel is ingrained into the plastic of the Terminator and is shaded very nicely here. And as we flip around to the other side, here is the same characteristic Crux Terminatus. And at the bottom of the pauldron is this nice corded area where it is a base of a green, and then it's been highlighted up a light green. So this is actually an improvement from the Knight, where you see the same kind of chords, except that this one is maroon and it doesn't actually have any highlights whatsoever. So it's nice to see some highlights on this one. So taking a look at the centerpiece of this action figure, there are clearly the Deathwing wings that are on the side. You can see a silver skull instead of a gold one. And then dangling down in the middle of this action figure is a gigantic red sword. And you can also see this cool texture that is happening that is highlighted as well. So we're going to take a quick look at what is underneath. It looks like the belt of this action figure is fairly unadorned. It just has these 4 spikes as well as this red sword with a gold skull. And as we progress on down, there are clearly defined knee pads, and you have the same dark gray skull on this particular knee cap. And then moving on down, there is nice Dark Angels iconography that has been highlighted as well. You've got this purity seal that's hanging out. On this side, you have an unlabeled banner. So let's flip and look at the back. And it appears that there is really nothing that's happening on the back, except the back is where you can see plenty of this beautiful shading that's happening here, as well as in the recesses of this armor. Let's put down the body of this Terminator and take a look at the halberd of Caliban. And this thing is really massive, and apparently this halberd also has another top part that will further add to the length, and you can fit it in here like so. And bingo. And as you can see here, this weapon towers above the body of the Terminator. And this is kind of like the size of the weapon we're used to seeing on a Terminator. Oversized and imposing. And for comparison, this is the Mace of Absolution that the Deathwing Knights have. And this looks comically small compared to the halberd of Caliban. Clearly there is dark gunmetal color all throughout this halberd here, and it actually has been weathered and highlighted up with a light silver, very similar to the power swords that we have seen. And in the center section is more textured gold plastic, this rounded portion that looks like the same core as the Mace of Absolution. And then down here is the end of the halberd, which I will say looks very similar to the head of the Mace of Absolution. So that is the company champion. Let's take a look at the company ancient. Deathwing Ancient time. Going in for a closer look. And let's take the Terminator out so we can see the banner. Okay, let's see what we have going on with the company ancient. So in comparison to the champion, this area looks like a normal Terminator. It doesn't have the same spikes that are happening with this company champion. And then with regards to the head, it looks pretty much the same, with a small appreciable difference in that this area has a skull, whereas this one has a sword on it. The eyes are metallic and the same, as well as the rest of the helmet. And as we take a look at the pauldron here, you get to see clearly a Dark Angel symbol. That JoyToy was a bit too liberal with the use of shading here. There are 4 of these studs. So compared to the company champion, there is no studs on the company champion, and there is no placard that is on the company ancient. So if we flip around to the other side, we get to see a small variation in the Crux Terminatus, in that instead of bones here, we have 2 swords that are stabbed through the skull. And while we are on the subject of the arm, let's take a look at the Power Fist. There's some nice tan accents that are happening at the outer edges. As we take a look at the Power Fist itself right here, looks like it has silver skulls for knuckles and this red iconography that apparently represent the pieces of the broken sword. And in the middle section of this action figure, you have flowing wings that are spread out. The part that is the same with regards to the company champion is this middle section here. And as we progress on down, this kneecap has a gold skull. The iconography is completely the same down here with no difference whatsoever. Same as on the other side here, except that this part has a lion that is screened onto it. Let's take a look at the other weapons. So you have the Ancient Stormbolter, and this is a nice example of a Terminator Stormbolter that I really like. Red casing, as well as the rest of this is a nice dark gunmetal color. I wish the casing had a little bit of highlighting on these panels here to make it stand out, but regardless, this is a solid Stormbolter. And let's just take a look at this dagger here. So the dagger looks exactly the same as the Deathwing Knights, except that the Deathwing Knights scabbard is red versus this one is green. However, the rest is completely the same. We shall see the piece de resistance of this lovely action figure, which is the banner itself. Up top, you do have the Dark Angel's monk with a sword and these gorgeous wings that are highlighted a nice gray color. The banner is topped with these golden skulls on the side of it, and as you look at the middle of this banner, you have the obvious first company designation here. Dark Angels fans, you're going to have to catch me up with the lore here. I don't completely recognize the significance of the iconography here with the lightning bolt that is blasting on the side of the mountain. And clearly you see a fallen angel right here with all these flames that are going on. So there's a lot of significance in history here. So please let me know in the comment section below. And let's flip around to the other side. Is a nice shaded piece of plastic, as you can see here. Very reminiscent of the tabards of the Deathwing Knights. Oh yes, before I forget, these Deathwing Terminators also are rocking the new and improved pauldrons that you get to see on the Deathwing Knights as well. So hopefully we'll get to see more of this improvement in other Terminators that are going to be featured in future releases. And so we have come to the end of the review. Let's wrap this bad boy up.
Wow, we have a bunch of tall boys over here. I feel like I'm walking in the midst of a large halberd tree as well as a company ancient banner tree. So, continuing the excellence of JoyToy's production of these Deathwing Terminators, these guys do not disappoint whatsoever. I think that these action figures pale a little bit in comparison with their knight brethren, but they still are very fantastic looking Terminators. If you look at the champion with the halberd of Caliban, this is a very unique looking weapon with blades and spears all over the place. And I think that JoyToy did a fantastic job with the coloration of the armor, especially with the ivory and bone look with it, and the dark tan recesses between the armor plating. Now looking at the company ancient, this banner over here is also very fantastic and unique looking. You're never going to find a company banner with this type of look at all. I'll have to say that it's very nice that these Terminators are very heavy, in that typically this banner up here would make this action figure completely go off balance. But since the body of this action figure is so heavy, it kind of stabilizes the banner. So once again, the question must be answered. Are these Terminators going to be worth your money? And I will have to say, yes, they are very, very well worth your hard-earned dollars. I believe that obviously Dark Angels fans as well as Terminators fans are going to buy these action figures. Now, I will have to say, compared to the Deathwing Knights, these guys pale a little bit in comparison, but they still hold up on their own. So closing out, friends, thanks for tuning in once again. And if you are interested in picking up these action figures, click in the link in the description below. And as we know that these action figures are very expensive, please do not forget to use the code SNS to get 12% off of your purchase. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next one.